Hello and welcome to the Global DIY Network and to this my 11th interview in the series Meet the CEOs of the leading home improvement companies from around the world. My name is John Herbert and I'm the General Secretary of EDRA, the European DIY Retail Association, and of GIN, the Global Home Improvement Network. Together, these two associations have 217 members operating in 75 countries with over 33,000 stores and members' sales now in excess of 330 billion euro. And with effect for the 1st of October, we are delighted to welcome within our network the International Hardware Association, the EHR, who represent all the hardware stores or many of the hardware stores from around the world. And they have merged within our network. So we now represent the whole entire home improvement industry. I would now like to welcome all our members, wherever you may be, the members of HEMA, the Home Improvement Manufacturers Association, and to all those delegates and sponsors who have already registered for the next Global DIY Summit to be held in Copenhagen from the 8th to the 10th of June, 2022. It is now a great pleasure and indeed a privilege to interview my next interview partner, who is the CEO of Homebase, who I've known for many years. So please welcome Damian McLaughlin. Hello, Damian.
Good morning, John, and morning all of the members.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see you. Just to tell you that it's they're still in bed in Lima. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Atlanta, they may be watching us at 6 o'clock. In Moscow, it's 1 o'clock, and in Australia, where your friends are, it's 9 o'clock at night. And we even may be having people from New Zealand at 11 o'clock. So I'm sure they're all very looking forward, Damian, to hear what you're going to tell us today about the success you've been having at Homebase the last 3 years. So let me just first of all start as I always do. Tell us a little bit about Homebase and where you are today.
Thank you, John. So yeah, Homebase is a fantastic brand in the UK and Ireland, a brand where we've been in a turnaround for the latter number of years. But I'm really pleased to say that we are now in our growth strategy, and growth meaning that we're expanding, growth meaning range and offer, and growth meaning our people.
Yeah, amazing. We can probably go straight on that because the people who tuned in earlier have been able to see a video of this interview, and they'll be able to see it again after the interview, a video of your new store in Luton. I know you've opened another store in Abingdon, and but the concept that you have, I think, is quite unique. And just tell us a little bit about the concept of Homebase.
Okay, so Homebase is where we define ourselves in the marketplace, is that home and garden expert, where we finish all of the rooms in customers' homes and their garden, but we don't build them. So we're very clear about where we are, very clear about who we are, but we're also very clear about what we're not going to be. And I think that's the point of difference of Homebase. So we can fulfill all of the customers' finishing touches through style, inspiration, and all the finishing touches. And that also then expands, like I say, into kitchens, bathrooms, furniture, and into the garden. And that's where our teams as our experts come in to help the customers fulfill all of their needs. So that's where I think is a niche for us in the marketplace. We are more a family and female orientated rather than the trade and the DIY per se. And I think that's in a UK fragmented market. I think that's where we position ourselves, and we continue to grow in those areas.
Mm-hmm. Where do you get the inspiration? I mean, I've seen your new stores, and they're very, very attractive. Where do you get the inspiration and the ideas from? Whether it's from trade fairs or from competition? How do you manage to get this concept together?
Ideas come from also, from first of all upwards within the team. So we always listen to the teams. And team are important very much to ourselves. People that we brought in from externally, people that's got heritage and history with Homebase and when Homebase was at its very best in the past, as well as then, of course, doing the research, the competitors, always seeking to learn from others. But what I do believe is, that we have a real strength of position of where we're going in that family, female, friendly, family-run business that just finishes those different touches. We continue to work with our partners of brands, and we continue to bring inspiration, style, and fashion back to the stores. And all of that is also led by research online. As we're all aware, customers research from Instagram to Pinterest, and all of those ideas and thoughts and magazines, that's where some of those ideas come from. And we try and bring that together, not digitally and physically.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job on the social media, because I've been following all these that you've mentioned, and you're really very active in all these areas. But we've always started with the pandemic, Damian, and how it's affected its business. So has the pandemic changed the way customers live their lives and the way they shop? What changes have you seen in the shopping behavior, and how has Homebase adopted to these changes?
For sure, the customer habits have completely changed through the pandemic. How they've changed is, I think, first of all, you see more customers having a go. I've seen more younger generations, shop with ourselves and shop in the broader DIY and home improvement market. And I think that is a real point of, difference, where customers are now, the younger generations are really having a go. I think, but what has been a massive change, of course, is, as everybody is, and everybody around the world is seeing, that shift to digital and physical. And there isn't a differential between that. It's just how customers research and then how they choose to transact. So we've seen a massive shift to digital research, data, and purchasing, as well as when we could reopen the stores in a safe manner to protect all of our teams and customers. Customers did come back to the store, and I think that's what I've observed since then. It's the both, where the seamless journey for the customers throughout both journeys.
Mm-hmm. You seem to move very quickly online. How developed were you before the pandemic, and what has happened during the pandemic on online, and the participation, the sales that you've had?
Yeah, for sure. We was definitely behind the curveball, especially from the past where the digital business wasn't a priority. And so we had to move fairly quickly. We had great teams working behind the scenes, but effectively we didn't have a digital business. So we had to move to a digital business fairly quickly. We created a platform, and we had to build some of the infrastructure behind the scenes through fulfillment at a fast pace. And I think that's what Homebase does at its very best, is deliver at fast pace. That said, though, the digital business we knew was a major opportunity, and hence why we then decided to go into a 10-year contract with the Hut Group, an a world e-commerce global platform, because we could fast track those years ahead of ourselves. Now, they own the platform, but we own still everything that we do in Homebase. So it's still our business. And behind the scenes, we've worked really hard at getting the right range, offer, content, fulfillment, delivery requirements for the customers. But we've also taken lots of learnings through the pandemic, and those learnings continue to be a part of our strategy going forward. We're now around 16% participation of sales digitally, and that's grown from a zero. So you can see the importance of digital. But also, digital isn't just about the transacting online. We see a massive uptake in the click and collect. So we're actually now, how many of us in the past would ever know which customers are coming into the stores to shop with us? We actually now who's coming to the store. So an opportunity to be able to sell the customer the project, not just the products that they sold or that that they ordered on click and collect. So it's just changed everything that we do. But also internally, people have got to think broader and think digital first. Think of those customers that aren't there. So you've got to bring this together seamlessly as one journey. And I genuinely, get in our teams to believe that there isn't two customers. It's just one customer, and we've got to take the pain points away and make it seamless across both channels.
Yeah, interesting to hear that comment, because if I'd have asked you that 2 years ago, before the pandemic, of course, the online sales were like nearly every home improvement company in the world. We were caught napping a little bit when the pandemic came along. But to now have 16% participation is very, very good. I know that people like Hornbach have published their figures at 19.2. They were the highest, so 16%. I know that in UK you're a lot further on online sales than you are in the rest of Europe, but I think that's a remarkable performance. So how do you see the online sales going on? The pandemic, well, I was nearly going to say it's coming to an end, but in, of course, UK, you've still got a very, very high infection rate, although people are not dying as they were or being so ill because of the injections. But how do you see it going forward? The sales of online, or how do you see the pandemic, first of all, and how are you planning for next year?
I think it's like anything, there's always the pandemic uncertainty. That said, I think we have coped in the UK and Ireland with the pandemic. Our priority has always been to keep our teams and our customers safe, and we'll always do the right thing as a priority to ensuring that we do that first. What I do think is the pandemic has definitely helped customers fall back in love with their homes. Homes aren't just now, the after work essentially, they are now the classroom, the office, the family areas, the bars, the pubs, all of that is under one roof now. I think that's really helped customers fall back in love with their home, as we saw a massive pent-up demand in decorating. And the other side to this is garden. Garden is such an important part to our business, as it is across home improvement, but also I think the well-being of customers as well. And I think that is keeping some customers, their well-being healthier, and I think that has really helped them.
And you were really, Damian, very well positioned there with with what you've been doing. And so it's been I think the position you were in has really helped you very, very much within this pandemic. And I think you've mastered it very, very, very well. So what have you learned from this pandemic? Is there anything you've learned from the pandemic?
Oh, for sure. As a privately owned, family-run business, the importance of ensuring that your strategy needs to be changed quickly. So, of course, everybody, I absolutely believe in the long-term strategy, but of course, the strategy needs to be quick and adapted quickly. And I've had to change things, adapt things. We need to be really agile, and I think the team and the leadership team have done an amazing job adapting quickly. And I think that's the best of who we are. We adapt quickly. It's also taught us about where to invest. Where is our capital going? In a smaller run business, we've got to prioritize, and that capital then needs to go into more of that. Where does the customer shop? And digital, of course, we've already talked through. That doesn't mean to say that I don't believe in stores. Absolutely believe in stores. We have opened small concept stores, and we've also opened, this year, by November, we'll have our third new opening of this year. So we believe in both, but it is about bringing that style, fashion, and inspiration with that experience at shop floor level to the customers. And again, personally for me, my first appointment, as a chief exec, and I've learned so much from not only, that I've had a full cycle of, working for, big PLCs, to be selling a business to privately owned, to running a turnaround business, to then into the growth strategy, and then pandemic hits us as well. And all of that is great learning for me as a leader to be able to teach and guide others through this. So a really good step up for me, and I continue to learn every day.
Indeed, indeed. And going back to the online sales again, with your participation of 16% of sales, how do you see that going forward? What would you think in 2 or 3 years' time? How do you think this is going to develop? Are you going to increase, or was this just a little bit of a bubble due to the pandemic, do you think?
No, I genuinely believe that this will continue. I think, 20% is a figure in my head. Yeah, that could be plus or minus. But that's where I do believe that we can't put a percentage on a digital, because as we all know, digital is research first. So research first from Pinterest, Instagram, your online website gets you ideas, inspiration, etc. How the customer then chooses to shop with any retailer is then the important part. What I do believe is when the customers are in and they know what products they want, the realization of the products that they need, they will just either click and collect or they'll just home delivery for many reasons of time, or many reasons for availability, or many reasons are just better planned. The opposite applies to that, in my view, where customers, I believe, will want to come to, and we've seen this, to our garden centres to choose their plants and horticulture and bring that personal colour touch to it. Exactly the same in paint, exactly the same in big kitchens, bathrooms, where they want to touch and feel products. And more importantly, want some advice and knowledge and experience from our team members. So I can't really put a percentage on where it's going to be. I always think it's going to be an and I think we've got to grow in parallel in both areas.
Yeah, I think this is a general feeling everywhere that the sales are going to increase, it's going on, but no CEO I've ever interviewed is worried about the physical space, and they think they go together. And they're all trying to do what you're doing as well, to give inspiration. But when I see how attractive your stores and the way you do it and the quality of the people you have, this costs money, of course, it's not a discounter. And the internet brings transparency and price. Is that a huge problem, or how do you see that?
Of course, it's be more transparent. We are one price file across digital and every single store. Of course, as a self-funding cash business, of course we've got to prioritize where we put the fundings. I would love to say all of our stores are in the same shape as our new stores, Luton or Cheltenham or Abingdon, and going to be Bradford, but they're not. We've got to, prioritize where our cash goes. So we continue to do initiatives at each of the store level, bringing range and offer and softness to all of those stores. But as I've said before, we've got to invest in where the customers want to invest, which is the digital platform. But not only just the digital platform, it's more of the fulfillment and the engineering behind, because you can have the best platform in the world, but if you can't fulfill at the customer's needs, that's where you'll fail. And we've taken lots of learnings from that.
Yeah, your online offer, is that much wider than the offer you have in the stores, or is it the same?
It's wider, and it's wider because we have strength of partners from our suppliers, so our brand partners, where we can have direct to customers, we can make broader products, that's online only. So you can get majority of the Homebase range with lots of expansions to those ranges. Sometimes I think you've got to be really clear who you are and who you're not. And what I mean by that is you've got to be, because it's so easy to just add ranges on, but therefore it can get complicated. So I think you've got to be really clear about keeping within your swim lanes of who you want to be and the range that you want to win in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So So now we come to the associates that you've got, and I've just been reading this book again about the Bleeding Orange by Jim English and culture, and I think Drucker said that strategy. It eats culture. Culture eats strategy. And Jim English said that culture is more productive. How do you motivate? How do you get your people to do that extra little bit?
Yeah, so I've also read, and I know Jim well. So again, another great legend of retail. I must say that a team is, if there's we're all as a leaders play to different strengths, and we're all aware of what our weaknesses are. But one of the strengths is, I get my energy from people. And I think the biggest asset that we have is our people. If you think right the way through to taking on a turnaround where we've had to make some really challenging but necessary decisions, but bringing your teams with you all of the way, what's kept us really true is our teams are the first to know. So we've always kept that mantra of our teams will be the first to know. Any difficult, challenging, on opportunity decisions. We do that by, I regularly speak to the full company, not just the line management. So this is about the full company. We are pretty open, we are pretty honest, and we're pretty challenging of where we need to be. So regular communications with our team, regular communications of listening to our teams, because the answers are always in the room. The answers are always in the store. The answers are always in from people that we bring through. So I'm always very clear as I started off part-time, and we learn as we grow. So that becomes a really important part to our business. We stand by our purpose and we stand by our values. It's values not just written on the wall, it's values that we live and breathe by. And, those are important to me personally. So if I talk about them, the board talk about them, but we run this as a family-run business, and everybody has a vote, everybody has an idea, we will listen. Of course, there is always then the leadership. On balance of probability, I make the final decision, but I'm also happy to change those decisions. So I think we do this collaboratively together, and that is one of our values. And I'm really proud of what the team have delivered. And our priority will always be keeping our team safe and inspiring our customers through the training, development, and knowledge that we want to provide our teams to become the home and garden expert.
I'm very impressed by that, Damian. But how do you communicate with all the people? Is that through a video link, or how do you touch the people, all of the people?
So to live examples of, in fact, yesterday that we had a full video call that with all of our distribution centres, store support centres, all of our stores, and our senior leadership team. So we led that, but not just by myself, and some of the other teams help and support in that area. So a video call is what we've done. Over and above that, we will go back to having a national conference next year where we can bring the teams together and celebrate together. And then only 2 weeks back, the full board crashed our full week's diary, and we went to the four corners of the UK and Ireland, and we was around over 100 stores, and the board committed to all of those. And we have a group huddle in every single store that we visit, and we communicate and allow the teams to ask any of us any questions. We put full uniform on, we're part of the team, and that's how we continue to communicate, as I know other great retailers that's listening to this call do. But listening, communicating is the biggest part of our roles.
Indeed. I think Stephen Covey, you've got 5,600 employees at Homebase, and he said you can double the people working for you without employing one more person if they're motivated. I think the difference between somebody motivated and really working, I think, Jim, again, he's working for a cause rather than just having a job. I always think about it, just a little simple thing of going to the public toilets and seeing paper on the floor, picking it up because they want to keep it nice. That sort of identity to the company, I think, is very important. And I think you've done a remarkable job there.
You just said the right word there. When people care and have the passion, and proud of what they do, is the rest of it can be trained. So I totally wholeheartedly believe that if people care for who they are working with, and it's run as a family business, I think you get the best returns from that. Yeah, and it's now time, as part of our growth strategy, we're investing in our teams. We're putting forward, our teams, we're training teams, we're winning awards. And those are little inches, not for me, it's for the teams, for the hard yards they've given this turnaround and their growth plan. And we can see, a long journey ahead of ourselves. So really chuffed with what the team have done. They're a great bunch.
Yeah. And I think to create the trust is very, very important. So not only are you looking after your associates, but I see you do an enormous amount for the community, like Bunnings of Australia, another fine example of doing it. And you're also doing things for the community. Can you tell a little bit about the cancer research and the other things you're doing for the people?
Yeah, for sure. Like any great businesses, we take our responsibilities, firmly as a priority. We do work with charities. So McMillan is a really good example of that, where we support people for their homes with cancer and their families. What was really good about this as well is the board didn't choose the charity, the team chose the charity. And we work in partnership with that charity. And our teams work in the communities with those charities. And that's what, again, puts a smile on our face, and we continue to try and do the right thing. We always want to do more, as everybody does, but we work, and we've got great accolade for that. And the environment, the sustainability is really important to us. From the green aisles, about bringing all of our products together as well, working alongside our brand partners. We work alongside them to try to make sure that everything that we do is sustainable. And the biodiversity, it's also making sure we do all of that, locally. We make the small things that make big matters. On every new store, we've got the bees and the birds, the houses. We do quite a bit behind the scenes. But what I'm also very keen not to do is just try and publicize something for the sake of it. So we take our responsibilities firmly. And I think all of us have got more to do, and we're part of that as well. We'll always continue to strive for better.
And I see you did another initiative of the Shop Kind initiative, which I was very impressed with. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about this Shop Kind, what you're doing?
Yeah, so absolutely part of Shop Kind. So as sad as this has been, as other retailers, had to close through the pandemic, some of our teams were, assaulted, threatened. The behaviour of some of our team members that had to be put through was just not acceptable, and I will not tolerate that. And of course, the BRC, on behalf of retail, that I was absolutely part of, to join with the Prime Minister to talk about more severe penalties for people that abuse shop teams and assaults and threatening behaviour. So I'm absolutely proud that our signatures are part of that, and we are firmly part of that with the BRC and other great retailers that are doing this, to challenge the Prime Minister about further penalties for people. It's about our teams that get out of bed every single day, not just us, right across everywhere, that do the best job they can. They should not, and it's not acceptable that people can threaten and people get injured from coming to work. And that's why I firmly believe in that. The Shop Kind is so important to us.
Yeah. And so now we've got so sorry, we've got it here. What about I was going to ask you a question about your kitchens and your bathrooms, because I know they're a big part of your business, aren't they? Do you install that as well? Do you have people working for you, or do you have subcontractors?
We have subcontractors, so it's more of a recommendation scheme. So over the 3 years, so we have a real strength in decorating, we have a real strength in gardening, we're building home and accessorize, and kitchens and bathrooms will always be that real strength of very competitive. We have great brands here, so the Country Living and House Beautiful Kitchens, as well as Michelle Roux Junior's Kitchen. So they're very branded, they're very they're a really strength of a kitchen. We're rebuilding that area. We're doing well in that area. We've just invested in some more technology to make it easier and simplified for the customers to do design planning. And we are retraining our teams to be able to sell the total project. But again, it is one of those growth areas. We sell the product, but we're not the very best at supplying, not very best at fitting, and therefore we don't hold the fitting ourselves, and we let the experts do the fitting for us. So one of the things, as I said before, I'm very clear about, we've got to be good at what we do well, but if we're less good at it, then let an expert come in and help us do that. And that's what we've done on the kitchen fitting side.
Yeah, but do you get the experts? I know, particularly in Germany, that this is stifling the business, because you can buy the products, but you can't get them installed because there's a huge shortage of people to do the installation. Is that the case in the United Kingdom too? It's
exactly the same in the United Kingdom. Tradesmen are booked out for the next 6 to 12 months. So that is a challenge in itself. Our showroom is doing reasonably well. I know that some of our competitors do have their own fitting teams, but we also have a recommended teams that hasn't necessarily held us back as yet. But of course, that is a one watch out that we've got to always worry about, is getting the resource to be able to fit those kitchens and bathrooms.
Yeah. One of the major problems today, Damian, that we read about, and particularly in the United Kingdom with food, is and we're hearing it in non-food, of course, with the transport from China and things, is the shortage of goods momentar at the moment. Are you having that problem too, that you can't get all the products you need?
For sure, the container, the carriage, the drivers is a challenge, and that hasn't just happened. That has been for the last last 8 months or so. The costs are very expensive. What used to be as part of your everyday container cost in your margin of each of the containers has shot up massively. It is a real challenge ahead of ourselves. What we're doing about it, is we've got to prioritize. We've got to prioritize our seasons and prioritize those containers. So it brings extra workload to our teams that's going to handhold each of those containers. And some of those containers, we've got to be really clear before it sets off. Is it profitable and is it right to do that from where the source was currently made? We are managing that through. Our availability has held up strongly, but there is always those challenges to get the right product in at the seasonal times that we need. We're very seasonal, and that becomes always a challenge to us. Will that always bring other opportunities and look elsewhere? Possibly, yeah. And that's what we've always got to have an open mind in terms of where we need to be. However, the range and offer and our partners overseas and from the East have been brilliant with ourselves, and therefore working in partnership will always be the winning solution here.
With the shortage of raw materials, what about the prices? Are we seeing a spiral? Are we seeing an inflation?
Without question, the cost price inflation is going up. You see that right across the UK. You see that from suppliers, and you see that right the way through, that we'll have to pass that product, some of that on to our customers. So it's about a balance, about where you do it and what you do. We can't be blanket. And what I genuinely believe is, if you just generalize, then that will be a challenge to us. I think it's about the devil in the detail. So it's about prioritizing, working alongside with the branded suppliers, but then doing the right thing for the customers, and then also playing your own game, which is doing what's right for your own business. And that might be putting some of those prices up, or it might be putting the prices up where you need to slow some of the supply down. So it's the devil in the detail. Is it challenging? Yes. Do I see headwinds? Yes. Do I be able to see ourselves? We've got to be able to lead through it. We've got to be fast. We've got to be agile, and we've got to spin on a dime to be able to manage this going forward.
Damian, we've talked about your concept, we've talked about Corona, we've talked about what you're doing for the community, what you're doing for your associates. The other question, of course, a burning question, is within the supply chain, what are you doing to ensure that there is no child labor, that the products we're selling are safe, that we are protecting the environment? What is Homebase doing there?
Yeah, so of course, everybody takes this absolutely seriously. So there is all of the audit checks and certification, throughout all that we do. We ensure, and we've got teams on the ground, in local areas, that we randomly check. I've got all the certifications to do that. So we'll continue to do that. It's really important. Things like that keep me awake at night. We have our teams over in surety that do a really good job on the ground for us in China. So we've got it, we believe, covered off in all areas of the world that we do. We'll always continue to check in and test ourselves that we've got all of the necessary precautions in place, but more importantly, really get to the root cause and make sure that we do those checks where we need it to be. So our teams are over there checking, and we'll always continue to do that. Okay,
the final question on this matter is that you've had new stores in Luton, in Abington, you're going to open a new store in Bradford, and talking about the climate change and the emissions. Are you doing anything particularly within your buildings there to conserve energy?
Yep. Again, it's all in the plan. With when we do the openings, it's always going to be what is the best environmental sustainable store that we can open. Are we leading edge? No, but we continue to grow. We've got all of the right things like LED lighting in and everything that we do for the building. Some of the buildings we have taken over from other retailers that the buildings were closed. So of course, part of our negotiations with the landlord is always up there as one of those priorities. So it's not necessarily about the cost of fit out. It's how sustainable is your buildings. And we take that seriously. It's always part of our white paper that we think about at the outset. And if it's not as a priority to them, we have turned retail space down because we don't believe it's the right retail space.
Okay. I think we're now coming on to some questions that people have sent. Have we any questions? Oliver, my assistant, is here. So we have a question from Peter here. I was going to mention that as well. You highlighted younger generation moving into DIY. Is Homebase doing anything to target this group?
Not per se, no. Yeah, I would say we are just targeting families. We are targeting the customer type that we've got. We are supporting knowledge and advice to the younger millennials that are having a go. So we're supporting it in that way, but not necessarily targeting them individually. We target our targeted audience, but what we are doing is seeing more and more of those millennial younger generation coming into the stores.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then we've got a question from Chris, which has also concerned me over the years. You have partnered with celebrities, famous people, such as Dick Strawbridge in the past. And I've seen this on the television and what you're doing. What advantages does this partnership offer?
I think there's a couple of things there. So, as we all do, there's been celebrities in the past where we have brought them in at the moment in time where we need, to give ourselves some credentials. I think Dick and Angel Strawberry is a really good, advocate of our brand. What they've done in the chateau in France, it resonates. Amazing. It resonates with the UK and Ireland population, as well as, of course, in France. But what they do is they do it themselves. They bring inspiration. They bring fashion. They bring style. And that just resonates with who we are. And we've got a good partnership and relationship with those. And I think they sit the values that we want to run the business by, very family orientated and doing it together. So that's where I think they're a really nice fit with us. And, they want to work with us also. It's not about us chasing. And that's an important partnership when it's equal from both sides. Yeah.
So I think, thank you, Damian. I think finally the other question is about creating a brand. And brands are becoming more important. I think even in this pandemic, certainly the product brands have done very, very well. But creating a brand like Homebase as a brand to people to go, I think these sort of celebrities, particularly if you find the right ones, they do bring a big advantage to the business because it increases the knowledge of your stores, of course, or the know-how of your stores. So
again, brands are really important to us in Homebase. Our partner brands, they can bring innovation, they can bring learning, they can bring development, and then of course our own brands. I've talked about the Country Living, House Beautiful, Michelle Roux, and we create new brands. And we have done, Powerbase is a good example on electrical. So it's a multiple areas of brand building rather than just one or two.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now we've got a question from Rainer Sternad from the Dana DIY International. Could you please share with us some insights concerning the new decorative stores? Are there more formats to come?
Yeah. So thank you for the question. Yes, what we wanted to do is test more local stores, more community stores, and bringing that style, fashion, inspiration to the high street. Our Decorate by Homebase stores that we've opened 3 now is more of that stylish inspiration. That's about bringing the ideas and being able to talk to somebody locally and create that vision for the customers. So they've worked really well for us. They are in our future plans, and I think that's a really nice, softer way to bring Homebase to the high street. So yes, is the answer. They've worked really well for us. They're in the right locations, and we'll continue to relook and rebuild that as a proposition. I genuinely believe there's something in the smaller formats with a wrapper of digital and click and collect that you can get all of the products, and that's really where that expertise and experience comes for a customer to go into one of those smaller stores, because it's more personable.
Yeah, Damian, I think you've summed up that perfectly, by the way. Yeah. So now we have Terry Koeman, our very well-known consultant in Belgium. How do you look at business development with a do-it-together service, home services?
Yeah. So one of the things at this moment in time is it's on our roadmap of how do we create support to customers that can't do it themselves. So that is on our roadmap. We are not there as yet. I absolutely believe that there is a need for expertise if you can't do, especially of legislation changes on electrical and plumbing. So we will need to face into that at some point. In the short term, our strength has been, as I say, in the where we know customers can do it for themselves, the decorating market, the gardening market, the home and soft furnishing market. And that's where I think we can play to our strength there, where you don't necessarily need somebody to come and do it for you. We can recommend, and we've got lots of people that are decorators that can help, but also that we're training our own team up to be style houses, to get the look and touch and feel. So training our teams that can share that with our customers. So some and some, at the moment, 80%, 90% of it is internally. We do have one eye on that. What could that look like if we need experts to come and help for the customers?
Mm-hmm. Damian, what about the smaller stores? Because you did open some smaller stores as well, didn't you?
Yeah, those smaller stores is what I've talked about, John, which is the Decorate by Homebase stores. So the Sutton, Cheadle and Walton-on-Thames, more of that high street, that inspiration, everything that I articulated before, which is there's something in that format that I think is another growth engine to bring all of what we talk about, expertise, inspiration and experience to the customers locally with the extended range of digital wrapped around it.
Yeah. Well, Damian, I can really see, and I've known you, as I say, many years, how much this job is really, you're enjoying the job, you're enjoying the inspiration, creating a brand, all that you've done. And certainly the speed that you've done it out has been quite remarkable. So I think we're coming now to the end of our, oh, we've got any more questions? Oh, yes. Yeah. The question I was going to ask you, you've been the CEO of Homebase since 2017. And in the industry altogether for 34 years. What has been the major challenges you have faced in this time, in this position?
Yeah, over my great career, by the way, and, working for my previous, company, etc., love this industry, it's part of who I am as a leader. I have got to say I've grown loads at becoming a CEO first instance, but I've had the full cycle now, as I've said before, from working for a big PLC, selling a business, privately owned business, running it as your own family-run business, and I have the total autonomy to run this business. Then the pandemic hit. I mean, that is just learning every single day, and the uphill battle that we've had, as we've all had. But one of the things that I am really, really proud of is how the customers have stayed loyal to Homebase. Our teams have delivered a fantastic job. I'm so proud of what the team have done, but it's not about me, as every leader would say. It's about the team. It's about the leadership team, and we work closely together as a family. We learn off each other. We grow together. We're fast. We're agile. We make mistakes, but we learn quickly, and we'll continue to do that. I think there's headwinds ahead of ourselves, but and I'm still optimistic about the future of growing this other great brand in a niche that sits firmly, that is something that we can grow, that doesn't start becoming a real competitor to everybody else. It's an opportunity for us to sit alongside the great businesses that's already out there.
Well, that's a great final message, Damian, that you're giving. I was always taught that the ex-military, there are no bad soldiers, only bad officers. And I think that the leaders, and certainly the CEO, he creates the atmosphere that everybody can work within and feel comfortable, feel trusted, and getting that extra mile and doing that little bit more than anybody else. If you can create that atmosphere, and obviously you're doing that at the moment, then I think the future looks very, 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 very good indeed. The other thing, when I came as CEO of a company which in 1983, which is now quite a long time ago, the thing that I noticed about it was everybody agreed with me. Everybody smiled when I saw me. And I came from a management team, and then that really, I wouldn't say impressed me, but I noticed that straight away, that everything I said, that people wanted to say nice things to you, but probably things have changed and become a lot different over the time.
They've definitely changed, and not a lot of people agree with me sometimes.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Damian, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I think what everybody has been able to sense today is the inspiration, the dynamic, the ideas, and how you have developed in this time as the CEO of Homebase, and how you're bringing it back again. The noises, the press that we hear is very, very positive, and I'm sure I speak for all the people watching this today, that they've very much enjoyed listening to you, and wish you very much success in the future. And I'm sure that we'll all be watching Homebase a little bit more closer than we will in the future than we have in the past. To all those people who are watching this now, do stay on, because you'll be able to see the video of the new Luton store. It's not the last one, then come Abingdon. So as Damian said, he's moving forward very quickly. And so Damian, on behalf of everybody, may I say thank you very, very much for joining us for this interview, for your time, and indeed for the inspiration that you've given us today. So thank you very much indeed.
Many thanks, John, and many thanks to all the listeners. And yeah, good luck to everybody as well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and now we would just like to tell you a little bit about the future events that's coming off. In a week's time, on next Tuesday, I'm going to interview Evgeny Moschow, who is the CEO of Petrovic in St. Petersburg in Russia. It is the most dynamic, more on the heavier side of DIY side, but he dominates the market in St. Petersburg. He's Russian, he's dynamic, and certainly he could be successful wherever he was, I think. And then on the 17th of November, it's a great pleasure to interview Paul Candon, who is the CEO of the United Hardware in Ireland, which is the largest, one of the largest companies of home improvement stores. And then on the 24th, we've got our friend Ken Hughes back again with his very interesting and lively webinars, How DIY of Home Improvement Can Win Search on Amazon. So to all those people from all over the world, wherever you may be watching, may I thank you for joining us today and for this interview with Damian McLaughlin, and look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday for my next interview. So for me, from the offices here in Cologne in Germany, thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Thank you.